Daptime, a time dedicated to applying principles that invigorate, motivate, and elevate. Daptime, a time where dope, adventurous people think individually to mutually empower. Full episodes can be found at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website at www.itsdaptime.com. Follow us on Instagram at Daptime21, Twitter at Dap_time, Facebook at Daptime, and on YouTube at Daptime TV. Thank you for your continued support. We're proud to partner with Harrell Eyewear to bring you this episode, makers of stylish and innovative luxury prescription and non-prescription glasses for all occasions. For more information, visit the partner link on our website, or for direct, go to www.harrelleyewear.com. Harrell Eyewear. Never lose your identity. It's time.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of Daptime. I am AJ, also known as B-Dub, Bobby Westbrook, and as always, I'm here alongside my partner in crime, my main man, Big Dang. That groove, always on time, never late, and the beat on the one is being provided by in-house maestro, Beat Nice. Three of us, as always, are delighted to welcome you back for another episode of Daptime, wherein we hope we make you laugh, learn something, and live your life a little bit better. Well, yo, Daptimers, we are back at it. Health 360 is in full swing. Today, we're going to talk about fitness trends. That's right. What's hot in 2021 to get your fitness game right for summer. So with that, it is now time. Relax your spine, activate your mind. Let's get it. What's up, Big Dang?
What's happening, bro? What's the good word?
Man, feeling good, man. Feeling good. I am in full swing. You know, my legs are working, my arms are working, my eyes seem to be working.
That's a good start.
I'm going to call it a win.
That's a good start. That's a good start.
How about yourself, brother? How you doing?
Likewise, man. Happy to be in the thing, man. Happy to be here.
Well,
That's all.
Happy to have you in the thing. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Yo, man. Kicking off today, you know, that Isley Brothers, the verzuz battle went classic R&B on us. They went Earth, Wind, and Fire versus the Isley Brothers. Did you catch this thing?
I did, man. I did. When I tell you, anybody that missed it, you need to do yourself a favor and avail yourself to the anthology of music. Anthology that they provide. I'm just telling you, it was something special, man. It was something special, bro. It was very good. It was very good.
What made it so special?
Well, for me, for my age range, right? The thing about that music to me is that it's timeless music. For one, both of them, both Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Isleys, timeless music, classics. So. You know, but for me, from my particular age group, I didn't grow up with them. You know, I'm a little younger, but I grew up on them. You know what I'm saying? Like That was the music I heard at the cookouts. That was the music you still hear at the cookouts to this day.
Right.
The Isley Brothers, which I didn't realize, actually have 28 platinum albums. 28 platinum
Get
records.
Out of here.
28 platinum records. So it's like, and I know Earth, Wind, and Fire has probably close to that. But it was feel good music to the fullest on both sides. It was truly feel good music, man. The vibe was good. It was a nice change of pace from, you don't hear music like that today. You don't.
Right. So, you know, I was among those that didn't catch it live, which is rare for me because I definitely, you know, I mean, I'm a big music person. I appreciate, you know, most genres. I have a full appreciation for. I admittedly do not have as much depth in country as I should, but you know, for someone who really loves music, right. But I appreciate most genres, and I can say that, you know, I was getting texts like, "Yo, you are tripping to miss this" from different folk.
Yeah,
and you know, I think when I hear you talk about the timelessness of the music, I always think about both groups and just that they were bands behind them, right? So even though, you know, Ron Isley's voice is what is the signature of their sound for most people. I mean, the harmonizer behind them, the content of the songs lyrically, conscious, love, every I mean, it just ranges for you, the spectrum of emotion and relatability. And the same with Earth, Wind and Fire. You know, they got party anthems, they got conscious songs, they have, you know, love the world and everybody, you know, kumbaya songs, and but the band is so tight.
Yeah.
I do hate that for something like that, Maurice White was not there. You know, I mean, he's not able to be here, obviously, right? For various reasons. But you know, his voice is one of those that I think is right up there as one of the greatest voices in music, and as a songwriter, just incredible. So I can imagine it being epic. Interestingly enough, the Verzuz platform I'm also conflicted on, because I heard the news that Thriller purchased them. And so now, you know, Swiss and Timbaland are shareholders in Thriller. Thriller is a parent company for TikTok.
Triller.
So a Triller, right? So what do you think about the platform now? You know, we got to see it, and kind of, it was something that I think for many of us, we felt like it belonged to us, even though music belongs to the world once it's out.
Right.
But I think we felt, you know, hey, here's something that is, again, ours, born in the community by our own. And now it's mainstream. It will be a part of the mainstream, you know, platform available to the world. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it all depends on how you let it out to the world. I mean, because the thing is, yes, it kind of is our thing, but like you said, once anything gets out, it's open season. So the key then is, I mean, the key then is, how do you maintain your attachment to it, or maintain your hold on it? You know, however that works. I don't know the deals, the particular numbers as far as the deal goes with Trilla and Timbo and Swiss, but with them being shareholders now, my thing is, if they sold it, made a nice amount of money, and are still able to be large percentage shareholders, that's a good thing. Why not? You get more resources. You're able to provide an even better product because you have more resources, and we still have a seat at the table, so that we can influence how it moves forward. You see what I'm saying? I think that's a good thing.
I do. I think it's a good thing for them as businessmen. I think, you know, as an entrepreneur, that you know, I can appreciate you build something ultimately, you know, with the hope that you can, you know, profit off of it in a meaningful way for your family and your family's legacy. So it's an extension of it. It certainly paints a picture of them as more than just musicians. You know, they're not just beat makers, producers. They can sign acts. But they're businessmen, and they made a great business move, and so I think it's a great thing in that regard. I think where the conflict comes in, and it really isn't, I can't call it a great conflict, but where the question stems from is, when I look around society, I look for those things that are distinctly African American, and I'll tell you kind of where this is seated. I was driving down the street, not far from where I live, and past I mean, I can't even call it just a strip mall, but it is one of those places where you got the mega grocery store and the Starbucks and the boutiques and the this and that, the bank and other things. Everything in that plaza is Asian. Everything. There's an Asian bank, the Starbucks, and everything else there, staffed and frequented by majority Asian customers. There's an Asian market there. The big market that would normally be a Safeway or a Ralph's or a Foods Co. or whatever is an Asian market. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? A few blocks away, maybe a mile and a half, there's another smaller plaza strip mall, all Indian. all Indian. The bakery, the coffee shop, the restaurants, the market. And again, majority of the patrons and customers are Indian. And I was like, where is that for us? And as someone who grew up in Oakland, California,
Right.
at a time when, you saw something like that, some semblance of it, to look around now and you don't. And I think in my mind, where is it? Where do we have an imprint on society in a way that we can point to and say that's ours? And so when you have, be it music or art or something, right? It as soon as you kind of attach, like, that's our thing, right? It's not. And again, it's out to the world. It should belong to the world. You want to be able to influence and have the world find value. I love going to the Asian market for certain things. I can, we spotlighted our girl not long ago, Tabitha Brown, and the guy in melon. Well, I can get the guy in melon at an Asian market because it's actually a Korean melon, right? So there's certain herbs and things like that you can get there, and it's an exposure to their culture. And that to me is part of integration, right? You get that connection. There's nothing weird about you frequenting their spots and nothing weird about them frequenting your spots. It's just that if you don't ever create the buzz around your spots to get and attract that, how do you get beyond just these mediums that are faceless? And that's where the question comes from. It's like, should we want something like that?
I mean, definitely we should want something like that. Now what you're talking, I don't know that is a versus. I don't know if versus is that for us.
Sure.
You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Or a title.
Well, let me tell you where it comes from. When I saw versus to begin with, where it took me back to was the cipher.
Right.
It is, born out of hip hop where, which the cipher's born out of that, the corner crooners battles,
right.
Where, Jimmy and the Doo-Wop boys are going to go up against Roland and the Doo-Wop boys, and they're going to doo-wop and see who's the better doo-wopper. You know what I mean?
Right.
It is that element of it. And that's what versus really started at. Then it kind of migrates to this thing where we appreciate our heroes. I'm wondering if now that it's sold, if you're going to have, Paul McCartney host a Beatles battle against, Davy Jones and the Monkees, you know what I mean? Like, what's it going to, you see what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It goes from that thing where you can go and get you to where everybody's using it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you. I definitely feel you. I think, my thing on it is, I felt the same way. It's our stuff. We finally have something that we own. You got to come to us to get us. That's the problem for me, is that you can go to them to get us. You see what I'm saying? Like,
right.
If you want to go get the Korean melon, you got to go to the Asian shop, right? You got to go to them, and that's fine.
Right.
But for us, nobody has to come to us to get us, and that seems to be the issue. Where I'm looking at it from a standpoint of, with them selling, depending on how the numbers break down, I know that they're shareholders, so I don't know how much of a stake they still hold. If they could sell it and be still, I don't know if they're majority holders. I don't know if they just hold a big enough chunk to where their decisions still hold weight. I don't know what it is, but that might not necessarily be a bad thing. My thing is, we can partner with people, but my problem is when we just sell it and then we're out, and then they do, and then they have all the control, like.
Well,
that's what the hip hop game initially, it started, and then next thing you know, all the record labels, everybody wanted to get a major record label deal, not understanding the business of it, which I get it. So you get a deal. Now all of this money is coming in. You look at the money that hip hop is generating, but it's generating it to companies that are not owned by us. So when you look at, A&M Records and all these different record labels that were out in the 80s and 90s, they weren't owned by us. Then we caught on and we started doing the independent thing, and some earlier than others. But I mean, that's the thing for me, is like, when you can go to them and get us, we generate the money, but they benefit from the reward. That's what I have an issue with.
Well, you said something when we were discussing this topic in pre-production, which I think is maybe something we dig into in a separate issue as a topic for the show. And that is, we have billionaires. Where is their investment to preserve it? You know what I'm saying? Like, I looked at the money. I mean, Triller was just recently they raised $100 million. They recently were raising $250 million. I mean, hello, it's like, where's the opportunity for our own to invest and ensure that this carries forward? And don't get me wrong, we have iconic heroes across the board, and they're appreciated on a global scale. So there's value there, to be sure. And I'm not even hating on anybody getting their paper, because I want mine. You come to me with a check and say, hey, I'm going to give you, 10 million now, and I'm going to give you enough shares that if and when we sell or go public, you're going to make 10 times that. Bet. Deal. Right. Thank you. And I don't have a guilty conscience about that, right? But it doesn't change the there was a story not long ago, maybe a year or so ago, a couple years. One of the guys that sold Instagram, one of the founders of Instagram, was put out there that he, in hindsight, regrets that he sold to Facebook. Now, he's a billionaire, living his life, was probably putting that post from an island that he owns now, right somewhere in the middle of nowhere. But the promise that he made, the commitment they made, what they set out for Instagram to be, to see what it has become, it's not what he intended. It's not what they originally envisioned. And he felt some remorse around that. And I think that's the part of the narrative that gets lost. I mean, sometimes the innovator loses. You make money, and you can live your life, and your kids will go to school, and for generations, everybody's good. But do you lose your integrity in the process? I don't know that that's happened here. I wouldn't suggest it is. But again, when I look around and I'm like, hey, where is that place where we go and it's familiar and it's family, and we have it for a window, and then it belongs to the world. And once it belongs to the world, we may or may not ever see it in the way that it originally was. And that's it. So a battle like the one that just happened, it's precious, because at least before it went too far, we got to appreciate some groups that did something really meaningful in our culture. And they've done it over time. And while we still can, their music can be appreciated by future generations. And on that platform, people can always come back to it and appreciate it.
Yeah. And I think the good thing about it too, what the battles do is they bring an awareness of the groups back up. So now all of a sudden those groups, they get to enjoy like a brand new awareness. Like, everybody knows about them all over again. And they'll all of a sudden on Spotify, they're getting a whole lot of streams, and that happens usually right after any of the verses. So I'm sure with the Isleys, there's a whole new generation that's like, oh, that's that song my grandmama used to play. And that's the song we heard at the cookout. That's the song we heard at the block party. Now you're putting it together, and they're on Spotify.
We get some shows booked.
Of course. I mean, that's really going to happen. So they're going to see they're going to see heightened revenue behind this. But to your point, I think that is something we could talk about, maybe in a feature somewhere, because I think you raised some good points. But I mean, where's the synergy? There has to be some synergy somewhere of some sorts. But I think we have to make sure that in certain areas we maintain the bulk of the say so, at least, if not all. You know what I mean? I agree with that.
I want to move you forward, man. I'm gonna pose a question to you, real quick, but I want to get our spotlight first, and then I'm gonna hit you with a question I want to throw at you. We're spotlighting. We said autism all month. We're also spotlighting diversity. In the last episode, we looked at autism and shared some tidbits. I want to give you guys, Daptimers, a note about a company called the Diversity Movement, and you can learn more about them at thediversitymovement.com. But they're a powerful resource that helps companies and organizations of all kinds go beyond merely talking about wanting to affect change inside their organizations, just having a conversation around the conspicuous visual markers and really getting underneath the surface at what allows companies to affect change, to realize change. And they do that with really kind of a three-pronged approach that hinges around education, leveraging of tools, and forging those conversations that are essential to empower companies to now integrate where they might be seeing a shortage of some of the underrepresented groups. So learn more about them. They've got a really good systematic approach. Visit thediversitymovement.com. See some of the clients they work with. You can see some of the tools they use, get a peek at their educational materials, and it's really helpful. Diversity is a much bigger, broader topic than just, do I have enough Black people? Do I have enough women in leadership? And if you want to figure out how to best have that conversation and approach the issues, both conscious and unconscious biases that prevent us from really becoming a truly inclusive community, you can do so by visiting thediversitymovement.com. And that'll be a start. A big Dame, I want to pose a question to you.
Yes, sir.
This one popped up on me, and I think this one is a doozy. So I'd like to find out from you, what is one compliment that a woman can give a man that isn't, in fact, a compliment?
So in other words, a left-handed compliment?
There we go. Left-handed, backhanded, a shoe to the neck, however you want to frame it.
A compliment that a woman can give a man that's not really a compliment.
I mean, I'll help you out. Buick is running a commercial right now. This is where this came from.
Uh-huh.
And in the commercial, the woman says to the man, "Oh, so you got a Buick. That's so you."
That's so you. And definitely could be those words alone. Depending on, yeah, that could be deadly. Yeah.
That's so you. And so throughout the commercial, I hear these women saying to these men, "That's so you. That's so you." And I'm like, that's not really a compliment, though.
But it could be. It depends on the context. It depends on the context. If you pull up in like the brand next year's Aston Martin, right? I mean, it's cleaner than the Board of Health, right? And some lady that doesn't even, some lady that you went to school with, that you haven't seen her in 20 years, and she happens to be, she's like, oh, AJ, that's so you. That's kind of a compliment, right? Like, okay, obviously you had good taste back in the day, right? Is that what she's saying?
Okay, but it's kind of a cheap shot too, right? It's an easy way out of saying that looks good on you, or I like your car. It's like, that's so you. It's more a dig at your character than it is.
It's definitely an open-ended
compliment.
It's definitely open-ended. It's like, it could be used either way. And it could be so slick to where you'll be like, oh, well, thank you. And then on the ride home, you'd be like, did she just insult me? Like, I didn't even catch that. It could be
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel you.
That led me to, it looks good on you.
Okay. You think that's another one?
It looks good on you.
I got you. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
not me, but on you.
No, you don't look good, but it looks good on you.
Right. I could dig that. I still think context, but I get where you're going.
I'm gonna leave that one with you, and I'm gonna come back to it in a couple episodes, because I definitely want to get your thoughts on this. But that's a thoughtful question for you. Compliments that aren't really a compliment. Keep it live segment. We're going to get serious, Big Dame. There's a lot of talk right now. This is our segment about politics and social issues. And we really and things of the general lifestyle. And we've kept it pretty light. But today, with what's going on in the world in Atlanta, or not Atlanta, but Georgia, period, with this voting bill.
Right.
I see a lot of people confused. I think people following headlines, you're hearing people talk about wokers and all this other stuff. I wanted to get your general sense on where the issues are, and your general feeling about, even this push, because Georgia's in the spotlight, but there are other states who are doing the same thing. There seems to be this push around voter suppression, and people seem confused about it. So I wanted to throw this out since Georgia's in the spotlight and get your take. What are some of your thoughts around that?
So my first concern or thought is that why is there a need to rewrite the voter law? Why do you feel there's a need? Now, the only reason I can think of that they feel like there's a need is because it's been touted that there was that the election was fraudulent in some way, shape, or form. Trump preached that until the day he moved out. Right, that was his thing. I lost because the voters in Georgia committed voter fraud. That's what happened. He's blamed everybody he can, and that's fine. If that's what he wants to do, that's his choice. My problem is it feels to me like the Republicans in power in that state and others, as you mentioned, have taken it upon themselves to try to restructure the process to accommodate for any would-be fraud. So in essence, you're saying that you agree something might have happened, something might have went down. So we need to make some changes to shore up our fronts, right? Make sure we're not. So that's an issue for me, because if all somebody has to do is cry, I was cheated, and then you're going to change things, what happens in the next election? What about when he won? Everybody jumped around and said there was the Russians were involved in the election. There was stuff going on, but no laws were changed. You know what I mean? Right. Nobody saw fit enough to say, you know what, we're going to rewrite these. And I just feel like you're opening Pandora's box, for one. So for one, you're opening Pandora's box. For two, anytime there's any restructuring of the voter law, I don't care what state it is, it's usually aimed at, and you can look through the history, it's usually aimed at suppressing the vote of minorities, be it blacks, be it,
right.
And I'm talking, when I say minorities, I'm talking the disenfranchised, those under the poverty line, people that don't have a big voice anyway. So that's a problem for me as well, because it works against the idea that a state took it upon themselves to say, you know what, we're very unhappy with what happened, so we're going to turn up in droves to vote, whether we mail it in or whether we do, or whether we go to the polls or whatever we're going to do. But we're going to make sure we make it our business to avail ourselves of our right and vote, because we don't like what's going on in the world right now.
Right.
And then when you're rewarded for exercising that right, now they say, oh, something must have went wrong. We've got to change it. I mean, what message are you sending to the general public when you do that? So that's my initial thought on that.
I love that you highlight it's the disenfranchised being those below the poverty line. I love that you spotlight that, because that's really what's at issue. And I think it may not be popular because Black Lives Matter, and we know that. Because then that's,
right.
And so everything that's an issue now, if there's a complaint, is it's most popular to aim it at the Black people are unhappy. But let me just say this to be clear. You run through anywhere in this country and you draw the poverty line and you look at who's beneath that, you will find Black and brown people for sure. But you are going to find a bunch of white folk. Yep. And so the reality is they don't want the poor people weighing in. They don't want the poor people upsetting the apple cart, because if they have a voice and they get into a position to influence, they might not be poor so long.
Right.
The poor people are the people who are going to say, yeah, let's change the minimum wage. The poor people are going to be the ones that say, no, I want universal health care, which means the poor people are going to say, hey, yeah, the 1% should be taxed higher because they got more money. And that is more important to them than your color. Right. Do not get in my wallet. That's an issue. And when you look at the major changes, and there are a few areas that I singled out that are big. Number one, they're cutting down the days for mail-in and absentee ballots. So from 180 days, it's going down to 11 weeks. Yep. You got 11 weeks to get that in. And they also won't even be mailed out 11 weeks before, because originally it was like 11, 12, 11 weeks it would get mailed out. Now it's 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So you get it mailed out 4 weeks early. You got to get it back a week earlier. So you get it out, they send it in 4 weeks. You got to get it back to them within 3, because they're closing that time down too.
Right.
Now, third-party groups have to meet a whole different criteria to even request that ballots be sent. So all these third-party groups that go out and register voters and try to get ballots so they can facilitate, all that's changed in Georgia. Mm-hmm. You got to stipulate on the ballot that I'm a third-party group, that I'm not official from the State Board of Elections, which makes me wonder, well, how are you going to designate that? It's easier for you to weed through that and throw those out or deem them late or not meeting some other standard. And then the other thing that was really, and this one probably got me more than any other one, it's that the state election chair used to be the Secretary of State. Right. It's no longer that person. This is an independent person appointed by whoever the state's majority leader is for the House and Senate. So if that person is GOP, they can select somebody that's favorable to them to now chair the elections. Yep. And because the counties are now falling under different guidelines, and you can have interference from other government bodies within the state to say, well, that's an underperforming district. So they can assert new rules, which I think will impact gerrymandering. So they can deem, your county is underperforming. So we're going to have your county go and vote in this county, which is going to give more weight to that county. And it's probably going to weed out people who don't want to drive that far. Right. We saw that in Wisconsin. We saw that.
Or can't drive
exactly.
that far.
Or can't drive that far. Right. So we saw that in Florida. We saw that in Wisconsin and Ohio in this last election. So I think, to your point, all of this is aimed at addressing weeding out disenfranchised. And I think the argument on the national level needs to be more around that, because it's that's being politicized. It is your economic power that is being attacked, or lack thereof. Mm-hmm. It's not just a color issue. And listen, I'm a black man who wants every right I can get my hands on. Mm-hmm. And I know for a fact that black and brown people have suffered a lot of systemic oppression and racism. But the reality is, a big part of this conversation is not as much color driven by the color of your skin. It's the color of what's in your wallet and the lack of that is driving all this behavior. And if the conversation shifts to that, there's greater influence I think we can find. And I think we can get away from the racism discussion. The racism discussion is a national issue. It's been around for a long time. We know it exists. But this is not, I don't think this is purely a racist issue. This is more an economic issue.
No, I think, yeah. I mean, I think the racism issue, like you said, that's there. We've talked about it. We can continue to talk about it when it's time to talk about it. And I think we should openly talk about it. But I've come to the realization a while ago that the issue that we're dealing with now in America are financial. Financial. Yeah. I mean, it's about class at this point. Now, it doesn't mean that racism isn't still used as a tool. You know what I mean? Because it's systemic. It's in the system. It's intertwined into the system. So it's there. Right. But the problem is, at the end of the day, and that's what always got me, is the fact that a lot of the people that support certain regulations or restructuring, there's a lot of people that support them that it adversely affects them. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of white folks that are going to be adversely affected by this, but they'll support it because I don't get that. I don't get why they would support something that's not going to help. There are a lot of white people that supported Trump and get rid of universal health care and this, that, and they, of all people, could benefit from universal health care. You know what I'm saying? Right. They, of all people, are adversely affected by some of the things he put in place. So I don't understand what that's all about. You know what I mean? But that's definitely what the game is right now. It's definitely about protect my money.
There was an interview with a woman in Alabama before Obama left office, when the conversation was around getting rid of Obamacare, which is, I thought was stupid. I mean, the GOP made it about Obamacare. That to me is the racist act, right? Because they know what buttons to push.
Yeah,
It,
yeah,
it, it
absolutely.
was never Obamacare. It was the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
But this woman who was sitting in financially, she was on a fixed income, at or below the poverty line, definitely needed health care. And when asked, do you realize what you're voting for will mean that it will cost you more for care you get under Obamacare at an affordable rate? She did not care. She did not care. And I think it's that, because in her mind, what was served up to her was Obamacare is bad.
Right.
Now, I think you look at this and they'll vote, people like her will vote for all these changes. They will speak out for the changes for the very reason they would vote against Obamacare, because in their minds it's a racist conversation. So I don't think it's just those defending it, black and brown people saying, oh, hey, this is against us and he's trying to suppress the black vote. No, I think there are people voting for it thinking it's a black and brown issue, not realizing like, hey, do you understand what you're saying? Do you understand what no, this is good. Because to them, it is a racial issue. And that's why I say it's really important that people speaking out look beyond color and recognize who truly is impacted. The disenfranchised in this country are oppressed. I mean, it's not even close to cool what we do to disenfranchise people in this society. Services they're not availed of, and that we've watched just get cut from the budget year after year after year after year. And people will say, well, it's socialist to want to care. No, it's actually humane to not want to see somebody who's got kids, no matter what the condition it is, be out on the streets homeless so their kids can't get education. It is humane to want to make sure that they have the minimum requirements so that at least their children can get an education. Like JP said last year when he talked to us about the family that was homeless and the kid couldn't even get internet access because they weren't in the house. So they had to try to get to that person and give them things to help them catch on, lock in the hotspots so that they can get their schoolwork. It is humane to try to make sure that the future generation has the same opportunity that many are taking advantage of today. So, but you've got folks that are like, not so much. I got mine. I'm good. And they don't really have theirs.
That's what gets me. So you talked about certain counties where they can say, oh, your county's underperforming. We're going to have you
right.
vote in this county. There's somebody, white, who lives in one of these rural counties in southern Georgia that because once you get outside of Atlanta and Georgia are two different places. People don't understand.
Right.
You got Atlanta and then you got Georgia.
Completely the rest of Georgia. Right.
Yeah. You got, no disrespect to Georgia, beautiful state, but I know about y'all. So you got somebody in one of these counties. So imagine now a white person who is under the poverty line, fixed income, scraping to get by. You got a little piece of truck that you drive back and forth to the store when it works. It may go out at any moment, any time. You always got to tinker with it to keep it running. And they say, Purvis, they changed the thing. No, Purvis, you can't go where you've been going for the last 50 years. Because, that's the other thing. Right. You're older. You're used to what you're used to. No, now you got to drive 30 miles that way and go over to the other county. And then you got to go through getting directions and figure out how to get there. And you're 70 some years old. You're 80 years old.
Right.
You may not have kids that can come and say, hey, daddy, come on, I'll drive you over there.
Right.
What does this guy do? You see what I'm saying? You're white. Right. It's not, you're white. So it's not black and white now. But you voted for this.
Right.
Because your party voted for it. Or it's because the black people cheated in the last one. So I'm voting for this. And now you're affected by it. You see what I'm saying? So that's what gets me. And I just think, I think it's interesting that the race card, people always talk about the race card, right? The race card, the race card, the race card. So if a black person says anything about something being unfair because you're black or you're white or whatever, oh, you're playing a race card, you're playing a race card. You know who is the most proficient at playing the race card of anybody you'll ever meet in your life? That's a politician. White or black.
No doubt.
White
No
or
doubt.
black. And that's what they're doing now. That's what they're doing now. They're
Right,
playing
right,
it
right.
now, you know? So, you know, it's sad, man. And it's unfortunate that people can't see through the fog to what's really going on.
It is. And what scares me is I don't know where we're going to land on the other side of this. I hope we land in a good place. But I'm not sure because there's just so much up in the air. And I think those 1,300 people that, you know, make up that rural county, that they're still going to want to vote. You know what I mean? Right. So real quick, want to take a quick break. Big Dame, How We Feeling is doing it, in the words of James Brown, to death. They are doing it to death. www.howwefeeling.com. Listen, Daptimers, get over there as fast as you can. Check it out. I have created a couple journeys of my own, Big Dame, and it's nice to do it. It's nice to have people chime in and weigh in. One of their founders put up a workout journey, was looking for some tips on stretching his back. I gave him my 7-minute child's pose back stretch, and he told me he tried it out. But man, it's super cool, simple to use. And I talked with Scotty and their development team, and they've got new things they're adding on every week. So How We Feeling? This is a platform for authentic engagement online. If you're like millions we're finding today are displeased because they're not getting satisfaction of real authentic engagement through some of the conspicuous social media platforms that are out there today, How We Feeling is a place for you. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a journey. Just change where you're sharing yours online today. Visit www.howwefeeling.com. Big Dame, in our feature tonight, we're back, Health 360 2021. We are talking about fitness trends.
Boom.
Fitness trends. Boom. There it is. I want to dig in a couple of places here because when I was researching for fitness trends, I was surprised at some of the things you and I talked about actually showing up in some of the research. We talked about the link between the emotional and mental health and wellness combined with physical health and wellness. And one of the biggest trends that is out there is people are really keying in on bringing those two things together. In everything we're seeing, right? That is like among the number one things that's out there. But I wanted to throw it to you just to kind of get some of your initial thoughts. What are you seeing in some of the trends and whether they're carryover from 2020 or they're things that you see emerging in 2021? What are some of the fitness trends that you're recognizing in 2021?
Well, I mean, of course, there are more people doing, people got used to working out at home. So, you have new stuff like tonal. The kind of the mirror trainer, that kind of thing, self-interactive training. Peloton has kind of gone up, trended upwards with some of their bikes, and then they've got the treadmills and stuff as well. So, that's just to name the obvious. I think a lot of people out of necessity have found that if they weren't working out, they've tried to start working out for their own well-being, because, I think the link between that emotional and physical is kind of when you're moving around physically, when you're working out, walking, running, whatever you're doing, getting that physical activity, your body literally releases hormones that make you feel different. You know what I mean? Endorphins and things like that your body gives off. And it helps you mentally. It makes you feel better. It makes your body feel better. It makes your mind feel better. So I think that's one of the big things. Boxing, we talked about, is another big one that I'm noticing. There's a couple. I know Dozen Boxing is one that I had checked into. So there's a couple different. I think the cool, if there's anything that came out of this, is that people learn that we can do a lot of stuff interactively, electronically. So you don't have to build a boxing gym in my city.
Right.
You can just build a platform where I can log in and do my workouts. The the technology was always there, but for some reason people didn't really think like that. This
Right.
made us start thinking like that, which the cool thing about is it opens up what you can do. If you live in a town where there's not much access to things, now you can access it, electronically.
Right.
So that's one of the trends I've been noticing. Big thing, Sid, with her track, she runs with a team up north. So she goes up in the summer to Detroit and runs, but they, with this stuff going on, they've been doing Zoom practices. So she's been able to access and stay connected with them throughout the year. So she's been able to stay in shape. And so when she goes up in the summertime, she can hit the ground running, you know what I mean? Which is a cool thing. Right. So yeah, that's the technology is the biggest thing I've seen, as the biggest new trend I've seen.
Yeah, I think that actually was high on the list. It's just the amount of technology that is being used for people to achieve their goals is tremendous. And it's certainly the ones you're mentioning, but I think people are relying on wearables a lot more. I think we're seeing more integrated into some of the wearables. I mean, we knew about the iWatch, we knew about Fitbit, but I think people are doing all kind of things to monitor heart rate now that they weren't doing before, breathing. Because again, as a part of the mental, what we're seeing is the correlation between what you do physically and what you're doing for your mind and your mental state and wellness physically. So there's a ton of stuff people are doing now around yoga and Pilates and breathing exercises, really dedicated to kind of tuning in and being present. Like that whole thing about being present is a part of it. Like I'm seeing on the list of trends a huge incorporation with fitness being lifestyle. I mean, typically we've seen it's been Bowflex, it's been Total Gym and things like that, but always with messaging being around a goal, right? Get your body to this point. You want to drop these pounds, get to here. But now you see the trend is shifting to create a lifestyle that is about fitness and about awareness. And, if you're getting on your Peloton, make it a part of your every day because you can get out on the road and ride when you feel like it. Like those kinds of things that get the messaging less short term and more long term. This is something you want to integrate to be a part of who you are. And I'm seeing that trend, again, integrated into wearable technology, integrated into a lot of the platforms that you mentioned. I'm wondering if that trend is going to eventually affect gyms. We saw some gyms close in 2020, right? Some of them did not open back up. I'm wondering if the future of the gym as we knew it is going away.
I don't foresee that. What I do foresee is the future of the gym expanding. So I see gyms now expanding to offer both the brick and mortar service as well as an electronic platform, right? So I got a boxing gym here in Virginia, but because of what I can do, electronically, you can join my gym from anywhere in the 50 states, and you can just be an e-member. Maybe it's a little less money for you, or we work out the package, and then you can just log in, and you can attend any of our classes. You can do the same stuff we do. Maybe you have classes where instead of hitting the heavy bag, we have classes where you do shadow box, things where you don't need the equipment. But I think there's a way to package it to where you can offer some sort of subsidiary service to others via online.
Well, Orange Theory did that going into the pandemic, and they're continuing that. So I think you get their classes through their YouTube page, but you couldn't access that without paying the subscription for the online version, which was certainly less than going into gyms. And they had a modified workout that really relied only on you using your body. You didn't have to have any extra equipment at home, but they could deal with the cardio, the stretching, the breathing. All the core things that still help you keep a fit, well-balanced mind and state of mind, and get that work in. Burn a few less calories maybe than if you were on a circuit, but fine. There's another guy out there, V-Shred, who's doing great things. This is another trend I'm noticing. I'm noticing a lot of trainers offering custom services and packages that are affordable $59, $60, you get a 90-day plan that comes with a diet, comes with some instructions, comes with access to a platform, and comes with like kind of this coaching over 90 days. That is another shift in trend I'm seeing, that you're getting the ability for people to get personalized stuff. The challenge though, and we've talked about this before, people knowing what you really need versus thinking what you need, right? So you got people thinking, hey, what I need, this is perfect. This is $50 plan, it's private, I'll do this. Maybe that's not what you need, especially if you're just putting one foot in front of the other, right? If what you need is to get out and walk today, the coach is there, but the coach ain't gonna be there on your walk with you, right? So you need to do what you got to do. But I think the proliferation of options, because the focus is out there. It's a trend to see how many people are really about their fitness now.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, like, it's good that it's on everybody's mind. I think it's almost like we got a perpetual January 1st going on with this stuff. You got all these people who are, oh man, I'm gonna lose this weight, I'm gonna do this, and that's great. I think the fact that it's just in the conversation regularly now is great. But at the end of the day, I mean, you said it yourself. You can get all the online packaging, you can get all the, you can get the meal plan, you can get the workout, you can get the instructions, you can come join my Facebook private page where we'll cheer you up and encourage you to keep going. But at the end of the day, here's the thing. You have to want it in here, because ain't nothing stopping me from cutting this computer off and going and sitting down and eating a piece of cheesecake. There's nothing to stop me from doing it. Nobody's watching. And then I can get on and say whatever I want to say. And that's the difference. I mean, I think a lot of people, you have to be careful with these options, especially with the electronic options, of getting on and being a part of it, but then not really doing what you're supposed to do. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's happening too. So that's another trend that I'm seeing as well.
I'm going to tell you, man. So for Daptime, this is like a giveaway gem, and it's a shout out to moms as well. Coming out of, actually, I think right before my scare, I have been juicing. I haven't talked about juicing for a while with moms and them. And so coming out of it, man, moms was one, she was like, my baby gonna be all right, right? So she was good with that. But she got on the juicing wagon, right?
Right.
And she got on the walking wagon. And one of the things she said early on, because she was getting the recipes from me, and okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? And trying to make sure she had the right turmeric, the right ginger, all this stuff. And at the end of a conversation, this is like a couple weeks in, she's like, we're in this together. We're encouraging each other. So she has her walking buddies, and she's been committed. And like, she is getting in her 2.5 a day. She's doing her juicing. She's modifying her diet. And what's interesting is because life is ebb and flow. So you have days where you wake up and there's no waver in you. Like, when you've hit, man, I cannot wait to get out there and juice. Mm-hmm. And then there are mornings we hit the floor and you're like, man, I sure would like a waffle. I would like a waffle like no tomorrow. What's true is that going through it with someone, having someone that's encouraging you, knowing someone is being inspired by you, really does help. And I think for Daptimers, I would say whatever you undertake, because you may end up modifying along the way. You do a 90-day V-shred and find out that's not for you, or you get the mirror and find out you're not using that as much as you thought you would.
Yeah,
you need to have someone that you are being encouraged by, and that's encouraging you. Mm-hmm. It helps if that person is someone you talk to on a regular basis, because those check-ins are valuable. And I think there's a part of us, depending on where you're starting from, you don't want to be that transparent. You don't want that accountability. And what I would say to anybody who really wants to see lasting change, that's the first trend you need to look for. Don't need to worry about what other people are doing, what's popular. You need to change the trend in you that says, I'm willing to be transparent to someone else about what's difficult in accomplishing my fitness goal, and allow that person the freedom to challenge you. Hey, did you have oatmeal today, or did you have that waffle? I had that waffle, and it was good. Okay, no problem. You're entitled to that. But we gotta get on that tomorrow. You need that. What made you choose that waffle? Why didn't you want to make the other choice? Well, I just wanted it. Cool, no problem. Or, man, I don't know. I just was tired. I'm down, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? We have to navigate those things, because knowing yourself, it frees you up to really love yourself. And to be fit is to love yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like to not be fit is to really say, I don't care if this thing breaks down, which means I don't care if I'm not here as long as I should be to accomplish my life goals or what I was put here to do. We talked in the last episode about dietary trends. Food impacts your brain. It impacts your ability to think and process. Fit does the same things. You can have a great thought, but I'm too slow, too sluggish, too fat to get out and get it done. So do it with someone. Do it with someone, not for someone. That I will say that continually.
Yeah, I agree. Having accountability there is crucial. But I think you also have to be able to be, and this is big. You would be surprised the number of people who can't be transparent with themselves. You know what I mean? It's one thing to say, okay, I need to lose 20 pounds. Or you can go on some of these websites and it's like, okay, get it 6-pack in 22 days, right? I can do that.
You must have 5.5 of them already.
Right. That's the thing. You can't have a no-pack and come in there and do that. But that's what I'm saying. But people will see that and they'll, okay, I'm going to do this. So for 22 days, you can't even do the exercises. You're so out of shape. You know what I mean? You have to be honest. You have to be able to be, honest with yourself and say, you know what? That's a little advanced for me right now. I need to find a beginner level workout, something I could do, but I mean, you would be surprised. I mean, I'm going to buy that. I'm going to buy this 60 days to fit, okay, right. It's cool, but you're not going to look like the guy on the box. That's the thing. Like, so I think people need to be able to be transparent with themselves. And also I think at the end of the day, if you go into any boxing gym, most boxing gyms today, and I'm talking regular, I'm talking old school boxing gyms that have created champions, right? You're going to find a ring. You're going to find a heavy bag. You're going to probably find a speed bag, a reflex bag. There's going to be jump ropes. There might be a few little weights in there, some medicine balls, the normal type of stuff.
Right.
It's the same stuff that's been in there for years before the internet. The stuff was in there.
Right.
The same gym, same equipment has been building champions. How come they were able to do this years ago and they're still doing the same thing? Because it wasn't the equipment. It was the user. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the user decided that, you know what? I'm committed to this. I'm going to come in here every day and I'm going to do my workout. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be 2 jump ropes. It could be 2 sit-ups. I'm going. But whatever it was, I'm going to do it every day or 5 days a week or 4 days a week or whatever your program is. I'm going to stick to my program. And eventually that led to what it led to for that person. So it's the same equipment though. The internet has not affected that. And now it's a great option. If you don't have a gym near you, now I can access a gym and I can now participate. I can tap in and participate the same way. But you still have to have that same stuff on the inside that said that ability to commit and say, you know what? Okay, I'm signed on for it. I'm in. Now that I'm locked in. It's like when you get on that roller coaster and they start going up the hill, tick, 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 and the closer you get to the top, you start thinking, man, I shouldn't have got on this thing. But it's too late. You can't get off. You know what I mean?
Right.
In. You got to ride it all the way out. And that's how it is, man. When you jump on a workout, think of it like that. I got to ride it all the way out. I can't get off. I got to lock in. And I think if you're able to look at it like that and be transparent with yourself, you might stand a better chance at being successful. You know what I mean, in the long run, because that's really what it's all about. At the end of the day, all these trends and everything is great, but they're only good to you if you're going to use them. You know what I mean, and use them consistently. So.
Good word, Big Dame. I definitely want to take this moment just to highlight for our listeners. If you haven't tuned in already, Big Dame and I have launched Daptime Game Time, which is our program dedicated to all sports. So if you're missing the sports conversation from this conversation, just go ahead, scroll on over to Game Time, and you can check that out on Daptime TV on our YouTube channel. And when you do, be sure to hit the like and the subscribe button with the notification bell, because you'll want to catch everything we drop there. And we'll continue doing Daptime Lifestyle here if you've gotten used to that as well. Big Damn, good time for us to highlight our partner, Diatziun, 2R1. Samira Jacobs has done an amazing job with her mother. We tell you often. Recently was out here. She's doing real big things with her bath and beauty products and those bath bombs that she's selling that are amazing. Visit their website, www.diatziun.com. Go through the catalog. Please order at least 10 pieces of product. Listen, you can. Everything's under $10. Support this young entrepreneur who's got a birthday coming up. We won't be able to say she's a 12-year-old entrepreneur much longer. We'll have to recognize she's officially a teenager. So she'll be in grown folks territory. But anyway, remember to support them. They're having a lot of fun, putting a lot of love in these all natural, all organic, no chemicals, no synthetic oils in anything she makes. Diatziun 2R1. Big Dame, I know you've got some of that Dame nugget of affirmation, DAP DNA for the listeners today. What you got?
Man, let's see what Mama has to say about things. Dap Timers, it's time for another installment of Mama Said. This is a time in the show where we honor mothers and motherly wisdom by paying tribute to the advice and sayings that we received back in the day. This is our way of telling Mom thank you and acknowledging that, as usual, what Mama says goes. So this one right here, pretty straight and to the point. I kind of covered it in the last little, my last little rant, before we ended the feature. But one thing about moms, man, she wasn't big on excuses. And, whether it was chores, whether I had committed to something, playing a sport or something like that, you're going to go to every practice. You're going to put forth your best effort. That's just what it is. And one of the things she used to tell me was, I would find excuses sometimes. I'm tired. I don't feel good. I got a lot of homework. Yeah, likely. Right. But one thing she would always tell me is, son, you got to be stronger than your excuses. And that's what I want to focus on today is you have to be stronger than your excuses. We talked a lot about trends. There's a lot of different electronic technology has made it very easy for us it brought a lot of things to our fingertips. So it's made it very comfortable for us to have access to a lot of different things, a lot of different programs, a lot of knowledge, a lot of information is out there for us. And that's great. But without the discipline to use that information consistently in an effort to achieve your goal, it's worthless to you. There's an excuse for every day of the week, 2 on Sunday. I swear there is. And they're good ones. But at the end of the day, it's your choice whether or not you're going to be stronger than your excuse or you're going to let your excuse win. And that's up to you. Either way, there's a reward at the end of the road. There's a reward for the excuses and there's a reward for being strong. You just have to make the decision which one you want. So be stronger than your excuses. And I promise you the end will be great.
Man, that's a smoker, Big Damn. You took me back to Paul Shepard's that you get the pain of discipline or the pain of disappointment. I love that.
Either way, it's going to be pain.
But that is a phenomenal Dap DNA. I appreciate, bro, as always, your insight and contribution to the conversation. Pete Nice, I appreciate you scratching the record on the break, as you do so well. But to our listeners, I want to let you know on behalf of Big Dame and Pete Nice, we really, really appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. Listen, we've said it from the very outset. This is not about just us getting on and ranting. We're about sharing a conversation and hopefully sparking conversations for you in your community, whether it be with coworkers or family members or neighbors, but in your community, because the whole laugh and learn and live is all about you taking what's here and being able to actualize it in your world to live a better life for you and for yours and those coming behind you. So we'll tell you, as we always do, share this with 10 people. Be sure to enjoy it for yourself. If you haven't done so, get to the website, www.itsdaptime.com. Drop us a line and let us know what your thoughts are. If there's something that we can say or share to help you a little bit better, a topic, or you have insight or a story to share you think would be encouraging to other listeners, pass it on to us. If we read your story on the show on air, we'll send you a virtual Dap Pack. I guarantee you'll love it. And if you don't catch us on the website, you can always get us on social media, on Twitter at Dap_time, on Instagram at Daptime21, and on Facebook at Daptime. And of course, on YouTube TV, on Daptime TV. There you go. But whatever you do, again, make sure you like, share, and help build a community. We'll leave you now, as we always do. When you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, there is your competition. We out. Peace.